everybody. It's me, Gina B. I haven't been here for a long time. It seems like forever, but we have been so busy this year. I have got to mention from the get-go that I got a notification from this lovely woman telling me that our podcast has reached number 7 in Canada. So she asked if I would put up the plug for her, which is podcast. It's the podcast.feedspot.com/Canada_evening_podcast. And we are number 7. I will put up, and that's all the other ones. So they're cool shows. You can check them up. And in my banners, I have that's their website, so you can check them out there. Now, after that, let me get back to my stuff over here. Tonight, I have disappointing Mama D cannot be here again. I thought she was going to be able to, but she couldn't get the night off. But I have yet another fabulous redhead from Canada. Do I have a type? I guess I do. But here she is. Tina is going to be my lovely co-host tonight. Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
I sprung this on her an hour ago, and look at what she does in an hour. Amazing. Amazing.
She washed her hair.
She did in an hour. I couldn't do that. Hi, John. How are you? Okay, so now what tonight's guest, I'm going to read his bio. We're going to get him on here because we have so much to talk about with him. It's craziness. Okay, so returning again with us is Steve Rother. He has been channeling the group since 1996 and the author of 8 books, most of which have been translated into 19 languages. For over 30 years, his channelings have been featured monthly in the Sedona Journal of Emergence, a 5-time presenter at the United Nations across 2 continents. Steve has conducted seminars in 26 countries, and today he primarily reaches his global audience through his online work at steverother.com. And tonight we're going to be talking about his book, this guy right here, okay? Crossing the Veil, What Happens When You Die, Your Spirit's Path Through Birth and Death. Welcome back, Steve. And let me tell you that this is not what you think it would be. Let me tell you, this will open your mind to so many things. It is crazy. It's crazy.
Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored to be here in front of 2 beautiful women. I did wash my hair, so I'm okay too. So,
yes, yeah. Okay. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for sprucing up. And I bet you smell pretty too.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see. Oh God.
But Tina in her own right. This is how I met her, because she does this here. Charm. That's her charm casting.
Oh, nice. She's
amazing at what she does also.
Wonderful.
So that's another guest you could have on your podcast.
That's true.
But I really want to delve into this book, because I did have you on before, and I do think that this is the one that we talked about, your spiritual psychology.
We talked about spiritual psychology. That's correct.
Yeah, and there's a ton of information in here too, which kind of leads up to this, right? It's like a big culmination of things.
Well, you're right. The spiritual psychology was basically what happens, why we're here, what we had in mind to achieve as a spirit on planet Earth. And the other book is the transition between the two and what happens when we go home. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, but let me start at the beginning here. Because it's like, it was a lot. My brain went from 0 to 9 million in a few spots, okay? But let's just start right at the beginning. Now, who or what is the group that you channel?
The group are simply a group of entities that we can call them spirits. They are not from what we would call ETs, although we talk about ETs all the time. So it's nothing scary or anything of that nature. But basically what they are is they are us when we are on the other side of the veil. We're all connected. And there are certain teachers and people that work with us on this side of the veil. I believe we all channel. It's a very mysterious thing, but we all get these great ideas out of nowhere, and we all, you you get that flow going to where you can do it. We all channel. We just call it different things. But the group is actually, yeah, exactly. But the group is actually the entities that talk to me, and they're in the beginning. In the beginning, Gina, they would not identify themselves, and that took a long time for me to get over because I wanted some handles to put on it. You know, there 30 years ago when I started channeling, there was still a lot of fear about channeling. You know, are you channeling the bad guys, or you know, are they evil or are they good? You know, all this junk that we tend to put on it. But the reality is, they didn't say anything about their identities until 15 years later.
Wow.
And they started identifying one at a time. The last one identified herself 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So,
congratulations.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Wait.
There's no
you got a little taste of patience.
Yeah.
Earthly things.
I
Yes.
was just going to say there's no Hallmark card for that.
No, there isn't. Not yet.
Right.
Not yet.
Yeah, right? Well, it depends what store you go into. Hey, you know what? That's an idea for, you know, metaphysical cards for these.
I love it.
These milestones.
I love it.
You heard it here first. We get a portion. We get royalties.
You watch, somebody will start putting that out and make a lot of money, and Hallmark will take it over.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
You ever wonder who those guys are that write those things? I mean, it's like, is it just, you know?
I actually knew someone who did that. I actually knew someone who did that for a living with Hallmark. That's correct.
Oh my God! Did they actually go into an office, or were they at home? I mean, what?
They were at home. They were at home. They basically worked on he held a retainer, so he was hired by the company. He wasn't just, you know, on commission or anything, but he constantly came up with these beautiful things and was always trying to find out the latest things that are going on so he could incorporate. It was really interesting. Really interesting.
So Steve, automatically that brings to mind, wouldn't it be cool to have like this vintage Hallmark Oracle deck?
Oh, I love it.
You know,
to
recreate some of those, you know, like saccharine.
Boy, I hope you guys are listening out there. This is some powerful stuff coming through. That's a great channel, Tina.
This is getting channeled.
No,
these are things that need to manifest in the real world.
To like,
Yeah,
to 2D
exactly.
thanks to me.
Yo, speaking of another good podcaster right there, you gotta check out Rocky Stucci. Yo, baby, I love him. He is fabulous. It's fabulous. Okay, so we're gonna reel ourselves back in here. Now we're gonna talk more about your book. And okay, so on your channel, what is the type of information that you receive, right? And like in here, I'm going to do this multi question. All right. So what kind of information? So what does this book cover and what doesn't it cover? So that's going to be a lot.
It doesn't generally cover a lot about why we're here on planet Earth. It doesn't cover a lot about your contracts. It doesn't cover a lot about why you were born to who you were born. That was spiritual psychology that covered most of that material of why and who and how can you explain my life type of situation.
Right, and claims and all that.
This talks about some of the most important transitions we make in our life. It talks about a very interesting situation. I'll explain just the basis of it. When we die, we leave. But when we leave an imprint, almost like an exit point, and leaves an imprint in the cloud that's there. We actually call it the veil, but actually leaves an imprint in it. When we reborn, because I absolutely believe in reincarnation, so did Einstein, so did many people, because energy doesn't die, it just changes form.
Yep.
So basically, when we reincarnate, we have to go through that same place and pick up what we left behind. Sometimes it's a generational thing that we're working with. Sometimes we pick up things in our family called generational trauma. There's all kinds of things we can do. But the way we actually leave, most people die fighting for their last breath. And that generally means they're going to be fighting for their breath as a baby. That generally, if they die angry, if they die frustrated, they're going to come back. They're going to be frustrated. And as a child, they're going to have to learn to get past whatever it was. We should be teaching this stuff in school. And everybody's going to experience death many times in their life before they experience their own. And yet we're so afraid of talking about death. It's actually a beautiful experience. Yes, we're going to miss that person. Yes, we have to learn how to grieve, everything else. But there is so much to this that we can be evolving humanity. And we don't have to be a hospice worker. We don't have to be those. In my book, those are queens. Those are they're really important healers.
I don't know if I could do that work.
The ones that do, I have nothing but respect for them.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Because you just can't go in there. You just have to hold space in the right way, and I just have enormous respect for those who can do that.
Yeah, I mean,
the group actually says,
I've seen all the death, and I've gone, and I've been present at the death times of people and everything, and it's like it's tough. It's tough. However, nowadays it'd be like, I think all the spirits will be coming home with me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be coming home with you for sure. I already told Roger when I go, I'm going to Gina's.
I love it.
That's perfect.
I know. I picked these great people, and they're so far away in Canada. God.
Steve, what did you were just saying? What did the group have to say about this?
Well, they basically brought the whole process in over a period of years, and then I did a course, an actual online course on crossing the veil, and that was transcribed and turned into this book. So that's really what the process was. We've been teaching courses all over the world. We used to call them transition teamed courses because there's basically the people who help the person die. They work with the individual. Then there's a person who works with the family on grieving and letting go and so forth. And then there's also another person who works with the spirit on a different level. So they say that we not only have those on our side of the veil, but we have them on the other side of the veil. So we have both, and they called those transition teams. So we've taught those courses over and over and over again throughout the places. And this is kind of the culmination of this book.
And that was, when you say we, that was when you were with your wife.
With my wife.
And I'm so sorry for her passing.
Well, she graduated. We don't call it passing, we call it graduation. She graduated because she left me behind. So she's always a little smarter than I was anyway. So I understand.
Well, I'm sure she's still coaching you on, and I'm sure she's so happy about,
without a doubt.
About what you're doing.
I'll tell you an interesting story. When we're doing these transition team courses throughout the world in different places, we'd always get to this point where we would say, if I go first, I'm going to make sure you're not lonely. I'm going to make sure you fall in love again. I'm going to make sure, that you're taken care of. I'm going to send you these hot guys that are going to, be in your field all the time.
You sound like your dad. You sound like your dad.
The whole, yeah, it's true.
Like, hell no, please no.
All right, I got to do a shiny ball moment again here, because you got to tell your dad's story.
Oh,
because that's funny. It was funny.
Dad was quite a guy. He was quite a guy. Anyway, he basically. I'll tell you a little bit about Dad. He was a metaphysician. He tried to do what I did, and was very concerned when I got into this, because he said, all these people are doing it with all these credentials, and you don't have any credentials, and he really meant it well, that he was worried about me supporting my family when I stepped into this work. And anyway, basically he found out that I was invited to the United Nations to speak. And right after that he passed. So it was kind of like he could let go, you know.
Yeah. But how he passed was funny because he always said, because he
You
had a
got it.
beautiful young wife, he always said, I'm either going to die in bed with a beautiful woman or on the tennis court. And he
Oh, you got a
And-
great memory,
and he-
Gina. You
and
got
he
a
did
great
die
memory.
on the tennis court.
It-
Well,
And
that's,
the tennis-
that's an incredible story.
He was married to it. He was married to a very attractive blonde at the time, and he died on the tennis court after giving a high five to his female partner. He always played mixed doubles. He was he was a man's man. What can I say?
Right. That's why I said you sound like your dad when you were saying that. That was the point
You're
that I
right.
was trying to get to.
You're
But
right.
all right. But other than that, and sorry about that long thing. Oh, we just got a long thing here. Hold on a second. All right. I watched someone saying to turn away from the light. I do forget what show it was. They said that if we go into the light, we will be reincarnated, and if we turn back on it, then we get to go where we want. Oh, well, that's very interesting, and I have never heard that ever. And I've been doing this for 30 plus years myself.
I won't actually agree with it. It all depends on what you're calling the light. You know, the reality is when you're passing, I think that's what they're talking about. We all experience something. It's many times been called, you know, in the Bible, it was called the valley of the shadow of death. And people explain it all the time as this tube that they go through and this tunnel that they have to go through. That's very real. That's actually in the book too. We talked about quite a bit.
Yep. And that's true too. And like when I cross a spirit over, I send them into that tunnel, or you know,
Well, that's what we do. That's what we do. We walk them up to the edge. Yeah, we walk them up to the edge of the tunnel.
And you say, you know, this is your journey now, but all your loved ones are there, and you know your next steps are there, and it's okay to go there. But you know, we don't. Okay, let's talk choices.
Free will.
The things we have choices for, and the things that we don't. So that's on you.
We have choice. We have choice in everything. We don't always think of that. We have choice of playing a game. We're playing a game. We've decided to play the game by rules. I live here in Las Vegas. We have rules here. We have laws. We have rules in the United States. We have different things. You would think that I don't have choice of this, but I do. I have choice of whether I even want to play the game. I can leave. I can go home. We call it committing suicide, but the group doesn't actually say there's anything wrong with that other than the fact that people will take responsibility for you. They'll feel guilty. Very difficult to grieve when that happens, things of that nature. But sometimes people are done. Sometimes people can leave. So we have choice everywhere. We just don't always know it. And the group's words are simple. If any time you're not happy, dare to choose again. Very simple. Make another choice.
Right.
And we can do that.
I want to skip ahead really badly, but I'm gonna not.
Sure.
I'm gonna wait to bring up certain things.
Gina, we all know too that if they do make the choice not to go to the light and not to transition, then now they're going to show up at your doorstep.
Yep.
Right?
And then I have to
we
convince
have
them
to
to
go
go.
in.
That's right.
That's true.
Right.
That's right. Because you do talk about ghosts here too. Now, how I classify
We do.
a ghost is someone that has not crossed over. All right. So someone that has died, someone that is afraid to go there. Okay. And because maybe they've done really bad things here and they think they're not going to be forgiven, whatever the reason, or there's something here like a magnet for them, unfinished business magnet, you know, that's holding them here. You know, so that is a ghost. And a spirit can still come back. You know, if they cross over and they come back, they're enlightened. They know everything that's going on over there. They can be your spirit guide. They can be your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your ancestors, whatever, you know, and they can come just to watch over you for a bit, give you information, and then they can cross back and forth. But the ghosts can be troublesome, and the ghosts can be
Angry. Yes.
very, yes, because what they do is they hold on to human emotions. You know, once you cross, you don't have that.
Or sometimes they hang on to a place. Sometimes they hold into a place or a person, whatever the case. The way the group describes it is just a little bit different than that, but very, very close. I agree with what you're saying completely. But basically what they say is that when you go home, you're a spirit. You're not just one, you're multidimensional. So everything comes back together. But there are parts of you that may not go home. And that is the residual that's left behind,
Oh,
which is
that's the
very
imprint.
angry or
Yep.
that's
That's
Yeah.
the imprint.
the way they describe it.
Well,
Yep.
the residuals, the way that we say it in classifying
Flooded.
residual too is like they're repeating and they're repeating and they're repeating and they're repeating because that's it's like a fragment.
A fragment.
Yeah, so I
Right.
get it with what you're saying, with what they say it's covered in here. I get that, and we see that the intelligent ones, the ones that you can have actual physical and verbal conversations with, those are the ones that need the help to
Right.
move to the next level because they're doing no good the way they're doing it here now.
Well, and it also has the effect of fragmenting a spirit, fragmenting a soul. There's a couple things that we can do that during our passing. One is, we talked about multidimensionality in that book, which is a very difficult concept yeah, exactly. And it usually causes more questions than answers for
Yep.
people because it just goes, well, if this is this, and how about this? But basically, the concept was very simple in the beginning. I had a friend of mine who went into a coma for a year. And my question to the group was, what is the purpose of a coma? I don't understand that. Are they alive? Are they experiencing things? What is going on? And the group said they're in a timeout because you've got 11 parts of you that are in different dimensions of time space, and they all have to be born at the same instant and die at the same instant. And we also know this from people that have NDEs, a near-death experience. They go across. Most of the time, they're met by somebody who says, it's not time. You have to go back. It's not your time. Which basically means the other ones haven't gone yet. And we still can go. We can still
This is what
do it,
I
but
wanted
that
to jump
fragments the
ahead to
spirit.
because this
Okay, sorry.
this is totally mind blowing. Okay, so when you say that we have 11 lives, right, and we're living them simultaneously, right? So we're all born at the same time. We all die at the same time. But if this time frame is it linear through like all at this time frame? Is it past, present, future time frames? I mean, if it's multidimensional, there is no like set time, right? There's no.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. That's the three words. The three most important words the group has told me I have to learn is I don't know. The reality is they even talk about time being an illusion. So it's very difficult. And when we go home, there is no time. And to even describe that, to talk about going home with no time is very difficult to do. You don't have words to it because all your words are time related in some way. So anyway.
Because we're OCD crazy people. And we need to have
exactly.
a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Well, and the funny part about it is they put the James Webb telescope up recently, which is discovering all sorts of things. They've discovered that the Big Bang is not the beginning of our universe, that they're calling it the multiverse now because they believe there are multiple universes going on simultaneously. This is basically what the group has been talking about in many different ways as well. But the James Webb telescope is now questioned. Most cosmologists are starting to say, we think time is an illusion. And it is. So yeah.
In mediumship, we know that, do you know what I mean? That non-form consciousness, they have no concept of, there's no time-space continuum, right?
Correct.
At all. So it's interesting because, if anyone's done like a past life regression, I don't know if this is the same thing. I'm asking a question because these are still things that boggle my mind. But It's like, you would think that, okay, I have like these memories and these memories, and maybe here I am dressed in Jane Austen, Regency, and then here I'm like, dirty medieval, and here I'm Victorian, but that fits in this, like, almost literary, compact, linear, but that's not the way it works. It's because it almost feels like things are on different channels occurring at the same time,
Now
and
you got it.
that's very it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. So there are no words for that, because it's just something that it just is like a deep knowing on some level. Correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So that was kind of like my question. It's like, okay, so all these things, I've done the past life things. I've seen a past life. I know that I'm getting married in September, and I have a big fear of marriage. However,
Awesome.
it's one of my past lives. I got axed in the face right after I got married, and like
Oh my God.
the whole thing. Yeah, because I got married for money, and so I wasn't the prize, the money was the prize. So as soon as the vows were done, I was axed in the face and thrown off a cliff. You know what I mean? So why would I not be afraid of marriage? You know what I mean? I still have that. I still get like, oh my God, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it again. I'm going to be doing it for the third time. I'm doing it again,
Third time's the charm, girl. Third time is the charm. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm getting it right this time, but it's like, but these past lives and things, and I do now wonder if it's this simultaneous thing that is over and over and over. Now I know how many I've had, and I'm at this life, I'm like done. I really feel it in my soul that I am not coming back again. I'm done here, and I'm ready for the next whatever.
That's something that
you're what we call a last timer. That's correct.
So
You're a last
Teresa
timer.
Caputo said that too. I mean,
Does she?
Teresa Caputo said
As a result, you put a lot on your plate this time. You put a lot of things you wanted to do, and let's, when you talk about getting it right on your third marriage, the reality is your other two marriages were good. We tend to think of relationships and how they ended, not all the good stuff that came from them. So, yes.
Well, my first one I got my kids from,
Bingo.
and lucky to survive it. And then the second one, he died, so I mean,
okay.
So what are you going to do? Oh, my screen just flashed over here for some reason.
I know that one.
So, yeah, I know you do. So again, commiserate, but there was so much to do from that. And I always said, I'm done, I'm not going to do that again, and yet here I am. But obviously I have more to do. And this one keeps me very busy, I'm telling you.
Well, that's the idea of it. And congratulations on the marriage, by the way. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have a lot of people coming. I mean, it's like, at 63 to be getting married again is kind of like crazy, right? But
no, it's not. It's going to be the who's who.
That's the important thing. That's the important thing. Just to enjoy it and take all. What's happening is everybody gets to celebrate your love. That's what it is, and to support you in that way. And that's really beautiful. That's magical.
Wow. Thank you both. Really, really. Okay, so reeling it back into this again, and these multidimensionality lifetimes and stuff. Right. The thing that gets me is now when you were talking about the coma person. Okay, so if this person's in a coma, if one of the other lives is like maybe dying of cancer or something, and this one doesn't have the cancer, so maybe they're in a coma to catch up to when the death part starts. I mean,
correct.
Is it like, it's just craziness to me. This is like mind-boggling.
Well, it makes sense. To me, that made sense of why a person would actually go into a coma, what the spiritual aspect of a coma would be, or a timeout. Because I was very curious about whether you talk to a person when they're in a coma, and the group said, yeah, absolutely, because their spirit hears you even though the physical body can't. They may not remember that, but they will have a deep connection with you from doing that spirit to spirit. So there's communication on a lot of different levels, but it's an interesting concept. I'll explain the basis of it. Very simple. We come from home in we're just going to call it the white light, okay? The white light contains everything. So it hits this crystal, right? Like a prism. And the prism divides it up into different colors. Well, each one of those colors is beautiful in its own right, but it's only a fraction of the original white light. So it's what the group calls the perfect imperfection of the white light. And each one of those is in a different aspect, same personality. Usually, if my name's Steve, it'll be Steve or Stefan or, something of that nature in different ways. We have a lot of similarities throughout the whole thing. We basically have a lot of the same core personality, but you have 11 different dimensions plus the higher self, which is the crystal in the middle. So they're groups of 12. Now, science will tell you that it's actually infinite, which it is, but they're in groups of 12. So it's easier to describe it this way. And one of the fun parts about this is if you make a big decision, I married my high school sweetheart. Barbara was my high school sweetheart. We met in high school, and we spent the next 55 years together. Yeah, exactly. So basically it did. But I also had another girlfriend before her. So I was always curious about what would have happened if I would have gone here. And the group says, no, in another one of your dimensions, you did. So every important thing that you decide not to do here is done by one of your other dimensions. So you get a lot of experience as a spirit pretending to be a human, basically is what it is.
It's really how I know how to do everything. I mean, just like, I was taught construction, but I know how to do construction. I just know it. It's what I did my life's work, and it's, if someone said to me, can you do this job? And I'd just look at it for a minute. And even if I've never done that job before, it's like, yep. And I can see it in my mind, all broken up, like I can look at a room and I can see it down to the studs. You know what I mean? I see it all broken up and what I can and what I can't do and how I can do this job. And it just comes to me, and
I was a general contractor before I became this. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly. It drives me crazy when I walk into a house and I see the cabinet's a quarter of an inch out somewhere because
doesn't it make a cabinet door that's not shutting? It's exactly. Like, can I use a screwdriver?
Do you mind if I fix that real quick?
I do that everywhere. Everyone's like, stop it. You don't have to fix that.
Same thing.
Oh my God, I love that. But I do think that, it's like, again, it's like this culmination of all these different lives and stuff.
It is.
And isn't that sort of, I guess, what we talk about when we say that we're like, you're in alignment with something and then there's wind in your sails. So, I mean, when you step into something and either it will happen or it won't. And if it won't happen, it just means, do you know what I mean? Not meant to be. But then sometimes you step into something and it's like you might not even have had the education for doing it. I know with me, it was cooking, for some time in my life. And I wouldn't know, but then I would hear something. And do you know what I mean? It's just that you got it. And the same thing with, I guess, writing. You just step into something, which might be one of those dimensions or one of those fragments, and it's familiar,
You're describing what we call channeling. That's exactly what it is. There's a bunch of ways you can channel, but there's basically 4 ways. Yeah, you can channel with a clairvoyant is a person who tends to see things or speak in those words. I'm seeing this. A person who's clairaudient, like you, will hear things and all of a sudden they'll follow it through. There's clairescent, which is basically the hypersensitive people, which most of us are becoming, and they just pick it up. And then there's claircognizant, which is what I am.
The knowing.
All of a sudden I know something, and I don't know where it came from.
That's right.
I used to have all the clairs listed on here. Then there's, clear knowing,
Oh, there's a
clear
ton of
smelling,
them.
clear tasting, clear all of it.
Yeah.
But
There's a ton of them. You can channel in a lot of different ways, but those are the 4 basics. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But you talk about a lot of these things. Now, karma, okay, this is again another thing that my brain went to. Along these 11 lives, and all right, our main goal is mastery, correct? Right? We want to be the masters of the universe. We want to know everything. We want to be able to do it all perfect. OCD, front to end, done. Perfect, right? So if we each live a lifetime, and there's 11 of us each time, right? And then we're all going back and we're going through the veil and we have all this knowledge. Now I know when we come back through the veil, we lose that knowledge and we pick up some old shit. Now what is that? Okay, so where does karma come in? All right, and why do we have to take this old baggage with us if we should be masters now? What is the point?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's kind of challenging because we think about being reborn and all of a sudden we're going to know things. But the group actually says when you're born, you have very little of your spirit in that physical body. It takes 14 to 16 years, and your whole spirit is not in your physical body until you go through puberty. That's when all the magic comes together, and you experience things in a different way. So the sexual energy, all the rest of it comes together as an explosion of, okay, I'm complete now. I'm gonna do something, So anyway, that's part of what happens. Karma, I do believe, has been a wonderful way of understanding things, but I think it's kind of almost outlived some of its usefulness as far as an understanding. I don't think we deal with karma in the same way. We used to do an exercise.
You should rewind that. That should be just for certain people. Young people and other people need a whole hell of a lot of karma. All right, they really do. And it's fitting if this karma does come around and slap them upside the head. Okay, but
I agree.
But if you've already been dealt these cards, if you've already corrected these things, and when you're coming back through the veil, and if you're going to be being human again and being faulty and everything, like you say, we cannot be perfect on Earth.
Right.
So explain that.
Perfection is not allowed, which is why we hide our perfection in all these different 11 aspects. But the way we used to do an exercise of this for people that would understand the spirit and what happens afterwards. We had 3x5 cards, and they would sit down and they would write the most important things that happened to them, good or bad, but the most biggest things that happened to them during their life, whether it was in childhood, later on, whatever the case. And then we had them die. And then they picked up those cards on the other side of the veil. And they decided which ones they were done with and were not going to bring back in the next lifetime. And they decided which ones they weren't finished with and had to bring back in the next lifetime. But they were the ones that chose it. They were the ones that basically chose, where they're going. I don't believe we're judged. I think if we're judged, we're judging ourselves. So basically it's a different kind of situation. But that's kind of the way they look at it, is that we do experience things like that, but we're the ones that set it up.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So now the ones that you channel and that you talk to, where are they in this hierarchy? Like what is their next step? Like, are they always going to be doing this?
They are spirits the same as we are. These are what we would tend to call master teachers, but only on certain levels that be able to work with it. The group is actually what they call troubleshooters. They are basically finding their way to different planets, different places when they're called in. And they've been with me for a long time, but people weren't interested. People, it was very mysterious when I started this. It was, channeling was
so many
strange.
years ago. It was still poo-pooed upon. Yes.
I'm checking into a hotel, and the lady asked me what, we're doing a seminar in that hotel, And the lady asked me what I'm doing. And I said, well, I'm a channel and we're going to have, we're going to have these spiritual people. Right away, she broke eye contact with me and says, don't look at me. We have that. We've had that for a while. Yeah. But anyway, it's like I said, it's all very practical. And I do believe it's all very timely too. I think we're at a point in our humanity where we all need to learn to tap into our own energy. Not even so much about follow the leader anymore, but follow ourselves.
Right.
And that's infinitely more difficult.
Right. And I think during COVID, we all get a lot closer to the whole.
Yes, we did.
Whole concept, the whole world get a lot closer. But now, are we experiencing it? Are we the universe experiencing itself?
Great way to put it. Great question. Absolutely. Yes, it is.
Okay,
that's what it is. Well, if you have something that's infinite, which is very difficult for us to understand because we're finite.
That's energy.
If you have something, but if you have something that's infinite, which is energy, that's correct. You can do anything except see yourself. There's no definition. There's no beginning and no end. So to study yourself, you have to basically send off a part of yourself to become finite for a while to look back. That's us. That's exactly what we're doing. So we're kind of the finite part of the experiment.
That's really cool. Now you like at the very beginning of the book, you talk about EM is channeling, and now EM's job is sitting at that table. It's a metaphorical table, but it's a table nonetheless. So and everybody is sitting around that. So every time that we leave and whatever, we go to this same table. Is it the same people around this table at all times, or is it different people that are just joining in at all times?
It is the people that you've called in. So in other words, it's the spirits that either you want to incarnate with, you want to have an interaction with, or maybe people that are helping you to design your next life, because this is where we make our contracts. And M, by the way, is me backwards. So it's a good another little interesting piece of it. But basically, he runs what we call the Tavern of the Light with the big table. You sit there and you ask, would you dare to be my first lover in high school? Would you dare to really make a difference in my life? And she says, yes, I'll do that. I'd love to do that. And then we make other contracts. Would you be my first business partner? Would you be my best friend in high school? And would you love me enough to steal my girlfriend? And we set all these crazy things up. And then
that's really wild. Yeah. And then we go on our path. And everyone always says that. They always say, well, do we have a definite path? Are we supposed to be going this way? And what happens when we get diverted? Because always something, if you start doing bad things, there's always something that's going to happen, whether you're getting arrested, whether something really bad happens to you or someone that you love, it is going to, of course, correct on your behalf.
I do believe that's true. I do believe it's true. But I also don't believe we have a determined path. We have free choice. We can change our path at any time we choose. It's scary because there's a comfort in the path. We all try to find the path of least resistance. But the path of least resistance doesn't always teach us what we need to know. So
it might not be the most fruitful.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask a question that is probably stupid, but I think that maybe it's going to be like a common question. So, Steve, do you believe that we pick, in our contracts that we pick the way that we're going to pass, right? Do you believe that we pick the way that we're going to pass?
Many times, yes. Not always. And not always are we consciously aware of it. But absolutely we do. Because sometimes we can accomplish something by that. Sometimes, there are even children that come in with a contract to die early because it puts such a huge wave of energy out there when they do. People are really affected by a child who dies because and sometimes they'll actually do that to help the people around them. So yes, I do believe that's true.
To change some sort of a construct, right? So
yep.
I know somebody in the metaphysical industry, and he's really well known, and it just sometimes amazes me all the good work that he's done. He actually ended up with a terrible cancer, and he just survived it, and then went out in California and was sort of brutally beaten by like a homeless person, and now is dealing with a whole other crisis. And in a way, it's when there are stories and narratives like that that you wonder, well, that is when that sort of shakes your faith a little bit, and you wonder, why would anyone have picked that? Why would you have chosen that?
Yeah.
But we do. We set up all sorts of negative things. As much as people will not agree with what I'm about to say, we tend to learn more from the negative than we do from the positive experiences. So we can have wonderful positive experiences. We can fall in love. We can do all these things, but the reality is we'll tend to earn more from the negative than we do from the positive.
Yeah. I always said too, I had a girlfriend, Kathy, and she had I loved her, but I couldn't be around her all the time because she was so negative. It drained me. You know what I mean? It really did. Yeah. But I felt so bad. And then she ended up she had every kind of cancer on her son, and then and then she was hanging on for her daughter's sake. She had really bad relationships, and she was getting beaten, and she was this and she was that, and she was ripped off. And it was horrible. Everything was just horrible with this poor girl. But her daughter was the love of her life. And then her daughter got into drugs and committed suicide, and then Kathy passed. And I'm just like, what the heck? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do, but we consider those things bad and negative, but the spirit doesn't look at it that way. This is a human reaction to things that we do. And, we all have to die. We all have to get out of here. I'm planning on going quickly.
I know. That would be a plus. That would definitely
like my dad said, I'm gonna plan on getting out of here quick and easy. That's my plan, and I'm okay to go anytime. I'm fine with that. But the reality is that we do, but even if I get a cancer or something, there's not necessarily something we did wrong, or it's not necessarily a payback because of having that. We all have to go. We all have to come. We all have to leave at certain times. So dying is not wrong, and illness is not wrong. And sometimes we learn things from incredible pieces and be able to really correct things in different ways. So that's
and sometimes
magical.
We have to catch up with the other lifetimes. If they're dying, we have to catch up.
Yeah, we do sometimes.
Right. But Linda
Steve,
said,
are you going to Tina's too?
Am I going to what?
Are you going to come when you die? You're going to come visit me?
Yeah, I'll come visit you. You bet. Right. You bet. I'll be Casper the Playful Spirit. You bet.
Yeah. So right over here, I have this pendulum set up over here. So if you see this thing moving, anybody, you let me know. Okay. But my cousin here, she said, do you believe in twin flames? Now, I do. Here's the sad part, twin flames. It's like we all have them, but we are destined not to be with them.
The way the group describes twin flames is sometimes we actually split off as spirits, kind of like twins in vitro. And sometimes we do that. But if you actually connect with your twin flame, it's going to be explosive coming together and probably not last.
Right.
And that's okay.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Well, you've done it before. So you remember that the sexual energy is very strong. It's going to pull you back together in an explosive way. And yet many times it's not meant to go the rest of your life with. It's meant to change you in that moment, to reset your energy in different ways, and to do it. And sometimes it happens when you're in another relationship, which is really confusing. But it does.
Right. But basically, though, we're not destined to be with them, and and everyone puts this big thing on. I got to find my twin flame. It's like, oh, really? Right. No, you don't want to. You don't. You want to. Again, we're not perfect here in this world, right? We want to find another imperfect person that we can tolerate and be with.
That's perfect. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Fall in love with the imperfections. That's exactly right.
Right.
That's what makes people. That's what makes people beautiful anyway. Is the
That's what makes people
imperfections.
people. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Even though we're striving for this perfection, but that's not this planet. That's the next. That's the next.
Right.
That's where I want to go to next. Now you talk a lot about the veil matrix too. All right. And the like the keepers and everything that's on the other side there, and like. Just explain this concept to me, and
Sure.
says easier said than
well,
done.
I've done it before I got into this work. I was still a general contractor, and I was fascinated by reading about near-death experiences. And then I got into some of Ray Moody's work and in astral projection, different aspects of really strange things that were going on. But in the near-death experiences, it explained a lot of what the group talks about and how things work. There are many times when a person is dying that they have actually made a contract with someone to help them out of the body. So when you step out of the body, Uncle George can be there. Or it may be somebody that you don't know in this lifetime that you know well from previous lifetimes. It can be anybody who'll slap you on the back and say, "Hey, bud, you made it out of the body. Now come follow me. Come walk with me a little bit." Because we know we're going to be confused when we step out of that body. We know we might be looking at the body thinking, "Oh, that poor soul there," and then we realize it's us. Yep. So there's a lot of shock value, other things of that. When we make these contracts, and it's not always happened, but it happens most of the time. We make contracts for what the group calls a greeter, somebody to greet you when you step out of the body. Then when you go to the other side of the veil, there is someone who's going to basically help you acclimate to home. They're going to share with you the rules of, okay, you got to forget about time. You got to forget, you got to forget about all this stuff you wanted. You have it all. So basically help us really to acclimate in some way. And again, those are contracts that we made a long time ago, even before coming in. And we made it with all dimensions and be able to bring back all that perfection in different ways. So there's a lot of things that take place on the other side of the veil that we're not familiar with.
And we're not supposed to know.
We don't need to know. The reality is we don't need to know. But we have such a fear about things we don't know, which is why the group wanted me to write the book.
And that's too like ghost hunting. My old house, I used to leave digital recorders downstairs. It was just full of spirits, but I'd leave digital recorders running downstairs. And I learned a lot of things on how they traveled, that there was 3 doors in my basement that they were going through. And then I came downstairs because after listening to it on the recorder, and I came back down and I said, all right, I want to talk about these doors. And no shit, I have it on tape. These spirits in the background going, who told her that? Did you tell her that? I didn't tell her that, right? They're arguing with each other, right? And I was just like, Lord, it's okay. It's okay.
That's
I know
perfect.
you're traveling. I have to travel in a certain way. It's not like
they thought the doors were hidden and you saw them. That's great.
It's also all the crap she has in her house too that things are attached to, right? It just, come home with me. Let me put you on the shelf here. I
know. I bring my ghost books. I do. On my 3rd floor, I bring him books because this was his house, and he had floor to ceiling books up there, and that's what he wanted. His books were gone, and he was very irate. Even though I have
I'll bet,
extensive library, but what he wanted was Western civilization books, and I had one.
Oh, really? That's
it's
fascinating.
Like this thick, okay, really heavy book, and I have another library in the downstairs, and I had it on the shelf. And we were moving in, and that book kept getting put on the floor. And I kept yelling at Bob, "Why are you putting my book on the floor?" And he's like, "I'm not." And I'm like, "Well, who is?" I'm like, the little dog that can't even reach up there. All right, who's putting this on the floor? I'd put it back up, bam, it's on the floor. Put it back up, bam, on the floor. Then we started doing, stuff here. And he said, he was mad at his books, and he was yelling about his books. And I'm like, I'll find out about your books. I promise, I will. And I did.
Oh, that's good.
And the man that lives next door is the one who cleaned out the room, and he said said he donated some, and some they had to throw away because they were dry rotted. So I said, okay, well, we can't get them back, but how about I buy you new ones? And he's been happy ever since. So I buy him new ones.
Oh,
I go
good.
upstairs,
Good.
and they're all on a table up there for him, and it's good.
Sounds like Louis L'Amour to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you just love him, Tina? I'm so happy that you're here with me. I really am.
I'm like delighted and honored, honestly. So
good. I'm enjoying it. I'm thankful for being here. You guys have really set the energy by talking about things that people are afraid of or people have misunderstandings about. And you just make it so practical. That's just really, we need this exactly right now. That's incredible.
We do. The age and the time that we live in right now is very, I don't even know the word. It's volatile. It's right on that line. Like we were going in such a great direction, and then all of a sudden,
so Steve,
a big bad thing happened.
I know what you mean.
and it's like, and it did throw the energy off of the world. Now everyone's combat and battle and you know.
I think we may all learn how to listen to ourselves rather than what we see and hear in different places. We've always given our power away. If we wanted to know what was going on, we'd turn on the television, we'd watch the news, we'd read a newspaper, we'd do something else. Now we can't trust any of it. So it's going to teach us how to listen to our hearts. We're going through a lot of junk in the meantime. Yeah, we got to go through a bunch of junk in the meantime. That we know that, but I do think that long term, this is going to teach us what the group calls heart discernment, learning how to listen to what you have in here. And it's okay if other people think differently. That's fine, but it doesn't alter and shake who you are, and that's something we're all starting to learn.
Yeah, that's a great way to put that. It really is. And yes, and we always do. We learn the most out of the most negative parts of our lives. You know, alcoholics don't learn anything until they fall completely on their face, and then they have a wonderful life. You know, and it's like
you're talking about me. You're talking about me. That's exactly right. Yeah, I was an alcoholic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. 40 years ago. 46 years ago.
Well, mine was longer than that, but it was it was eye opening, and you know, I mean, I had to lose my freedom, you know, so there you go, and it's humiliating and humbling, and you know, and then when you realize and you make that step, the whole new world opens up, and then you're nothing like that.
You start mastering your life. Everything opens up. You find a new direction. I was a general contractor. Every other word started with F. I mean, I couldn't communicate. I had to learn a whole new language when I started doing this. So literally, my whole world changed very quickly.
Right.
So was there, when that happened for you, Steve, so was there like an event? Do you know what I mean? Or how did it just go from where you were to suddenly now becoming this pure open channel for all of this? What happened?
My wife was into metaphysics. She would go to a church called Unity, and it was a real nice church. Church of Religious Science was the other one she went to. So she was into this stuff. I was not.
It was a spiritual church, like a
spiritual church. Yes, spiritualist church. So much of it was around Christianity, but it wasn't necessarily about that. But it was a very open church. And she'd say, "Honey, come with me." And I go, "No, it's all right. I'll take care of the kids. You go play with your friends and do your woo-woo stuff." You know, I thought that was really cool. So basically, one New Year's Eve, I stopped drinking. So we're always looking for something new to do on New Year's Eve because everything involves drinking. So we're looking for unusual things to do. She said, "My church is putting on this event and where you go through your life and you look at the last year and you set these." And I said, "All right, I'll go with you. No problem." But my whole intent was just to smile and nod my head because I really didn't know the words they were talking about or the concepts. You know, I I felt like a drag along. So
Fake it till you
anyway,
make it.
yeah. And so I was said, I'll stay with you, honey, the whole time. As soon as we walked in the door, they split us up and put us in different groups. It was, it was great. It was great. Went through the whole thing. It was wonderful. We ended up with a piece of paper, all the things you want to lose, all the things you want to gain for the next year. Then we came back and met on the beach at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I built a big bonfire. I felt like I was in charge then because I was a contractor. I had all this wood, so I built this monster fire for people. Right. And then and the idea was you would tear that paper in half. You'd throw the things that you wanted to release into the fire. Yeah. Everybody would go ho and make a big deal about it. And then you'd read the things that you wanted in your new life. Okay, I can do this now. I made it through the whole evening. We had a wonderful time. Yeah. And so I'm hiding in the smoke. There's only about 15 of us. I'm in the smoke, trying to disappear so I can watch everybody else, do it and then do it last. And the leader gets up there and he rips his thing in half. And before he throws it in the fire, he says, I'm being told that Steve has to go first. So I gave a dirty look to my wife. Yeah, exactly. And I said, okay, I can do this. No problem. And I ripped it up, threw that in there. Everybody goes, oh, that's great. I hold this up and the tears started. Oh my God.
Wow. The release.
I couldn't move. I thought I was there for a half an hour. It was probably 5 minutes, but I couldn't say anything. When I finally came back around, everybody was doing this. They were sending me energy, but I didn't know what that was at the time. Right. I thought it was some metaphysical handshake or I didn't know what it was. But basically, they're all sending me this energy. And I noticed my whole shirt is just sopping wet from the tears that were just flowing out. I finally held this paper up and I said, I'm going to be a light worker. It's the first time I heard the word. It wasn't on my paper. So I went back and stood in line and Barbara leans over to me and says, what's a light worker? I said, I don't know, but I think that was the first time the group talked to me. Wow. And that's where they put that word. They basically, I could feel them here. I could feel that they were multiple entities. And yeah, so that's kind of the event that started. After that, I simply started typing. And chat rooms were prevalent back then. I was in a chat room.
How did you know? Because I know a little bit about I've had a couple of experiences, but sure. I would not be able to break that down into whether or not it was one presence or a group. So how were you able to discern that it was multiple energies, right? As opposed to one mass?
Well, as I said before, even before that, I was doing a little reading about near-death experiences. I read some books and I ran across the Seth book, which she was a channel for Seth. And I became aware that they were channeling one entity and so forth. And that was not the case. I became very much aware that there were multiple entities back here. Wow. I even tried to count them in the beginning. And it was like they were running through a house and I was counting them in this room and then they were in another room. So I couldn't actually do it. They told me there was 9. It's a group of 9. I'm one of them. So there's 8 of them and 1 of me. But it took a long time. Yeah. It took a while. And that was probably my resistance to it as well. I consider myself to be a drag-along. She literally dragged me into that thing. And she got a little upset, too, that all of a sudden I started channeling. She had a hard time accepting it.
You didn't even want to go, and you're the one.
This is like an evolved chat room now.
Exactly.
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
It is.
Exactly.
With people talking and all that, and you can see things. Yeah, it's much better. But it's still a chat room nonetheless, and we still call that the chat room. So, but I think from a young age, I think a lot of us, like you say, we all channel, right? We all get our messages. We all, like I've seen the apparitions. I've seen, my cousins in here, and her sister was the other one that saw my grandmother when they died. My grandfather, I appeared, I spoke, I heard him, I saw him. My grandmother appeared, she spoke, her lips moved, but I couldn't hear anything. It was really weird. But it's like from a young age. And then you get busy with life. So you kind of put that stuff aside. But then there's always something that happens that makes sure you're on this path, like what she does is amazing. It was something I've never seen before. And it's another way to tap into the spirit. And it's so cool. It is so cool. This charm casting thing with all your baubles and stuff.
Cool.
And you have a meaning to everything, and you throw it down, and you have a chart, and where these things land, it all tells a story. It blew my mind, like totally blew my mind. But there's like no doubt in my mind that people, you get put into my life times I need it,
right.
And you learn and you evolve, and that's what this is all about. We all have to learn.
The joke is on us. We've known each other many lifetimes.
We're
just coming back into it. Yeah.
I am so sure.
I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that.
Mama D, Mama D and I think we go way back in lifetimes, And again,
I love to Mama D. We miss you.
I know. I miss Mama D so much. But, like, again, I got another redhead from Canada.
There you go.
Sending love to Mama D.
Yeah. But she knows how special she is. And Tina, I just felt like this immediate, like, kinship, right? And when you were first on the show too, I was like, you blew my mind then, you blew my mind again. This book, I swear, when I started reading this, I did not think it was going to go in the direction that it did. I honestly did not. And I was like, I've got, again, 1 million dog ears and lots of arrows and lots to talk about. Lots of like questions that come up with all these different things. I like to death exercise, but like I get arrows, I've got underlines, like that was like magical. About the sudden death things and stuff like that. Like, so when we die, when we have all these lifetimes and all of a sudden one dies, what happens to everybody else? You know what I mean? They all have to trip and fall and dive off a cliff because someone got into a car accident.
And some have been dying of cancer for the last 3 years. So exactly. Yeah.
It just blows my mind, guys. Really, seriously. But I would say he's got 8 books out, and they're all insane. They all culminate to this, you know what I mean? But yeah, if you were going to do anything, you would want to get this one before this one, because this will bring you up to speed. What's ready to come into this, because this will blow you mind. And anybody that works in this field, honestly, you want to see what's really happening on that other side. As investigators, we're always asking what's going on the other side. Like I said, I trick them into finding out what's going on the other side. I do that when I go into a house. Some of them are hip to my job. All right, some of them are, so they know, right? Because I'll go in and I'll have different recorders and I'll drop it nonchalantly as I'm walking through. If I'm called to a case, and it's like, well, the spirit is doing this, or this is happening here.
That's perfect.
I just
that takes the mystery out of it, and the fact that you do it so nonchalant is really cool, because people remember that. People connect with that. They'll be able to understand it going forward. If they want to change it, they can change it, and you can help them change it. That is really awesome, because some of these people are really stuck in their own belief systems, and you can help them open up everything at that point. So that's really magical.
Right. Well,
do you do mediumship? Do you guys do mediumship?
In a way. All right. So what she does is fascinating with her charm casting and everything, and that's how she gives readings. I like to do oracle cards. I started with tarot cards. I like oracle cards more now. They more tell a story. However, now I mix oracle cards in with my charm casting stuff, which I have handy
Yeah.
all the
Oh,
time
nice.
too, because it's really a
Really
new
quick.
thing, but I mean, we do paranormal equipment, like I just made this pendulum holder thing over here. So it's like, it's all just different ways to communicate. And depending on where this soul is how you need to communicate with them, because, like, again, that you were talking about the residual things, you really can't talk to them, you just gotta kind of break through to them,
Right.
and stop that cycle that keeps going. And oh yeah, Mary Jane, okay, right here with this is charm casting. You got to look it up, Tina.
That's
Okay,
cool.
it is.
I had an experience where I mean, I was a diviner for like years. That's what I did. It ran on my mom's side of the family. But I have a friend who is he's a brilliant psychic medium, and we both worked in a store together. We worked together. We've done a lot of work together. So I remember we went in for a reading with someone who's very well known in Toronto, and I remember I didn't think she liked me very much, but I know she loved Tyler. Anyway, she sat down with Tyler and told Tyler that he was so talented, he could be the next John Edwards. He is very, very, dates and names and platform. He's really great. And then she sat down with me, and I think she was surprised, but she said, when you turn 60, you're going to become a wise woman. So we went out for like wine later that night, and I'm like, what the right? You get to be Edwards, and I get to be like a wise woman? Like, what is wrong with that? Right? So
What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I like that.
So then now there was an incident where there was an awful hit and run, a 22-year-old. And I remember doing something the same day, and I got all kinds of information, and then I started investigating it, and it just kept synchronicity leading me to people that had parts of the story, because it was, you know what I mean? And I got all kinds of information, and then damned if he doesn't go to almost right. He was supposed to, and I knew things like, and I mean it respectfully, but I knew, it wasn't the hit and run. I saw that, do you know what I mean? That he'd actually passed away differently, right? It doesn't matter. So what does that asshole? He goes right to a different spot, and then he merges with Dante. Dante tells him it's going to be a cold case. It's never going to be solved. So I've done months of work, and he just goes there and merges with spirit.
Nonchalantly does that. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was in tears, because it's like, what was the use of all this? But it was a journey. It was a big journey. But then I did start taking mediumship classes, and I did with Marianne Kennedy, who Canadian. She is wonderful. She's taught at Lilydale, and so I think that's been such an important. I mean, the classes that I've done with her have been amazing to put everything.
That's awesome.
My first co-host here. Well, I was the co-host. He was the host of the show. It was called Second Sight, and he was a psychic medium. And together, because I was in the paranormal and he was the psychic, we would do events, parapsychic events. And what he did is he called it psychic poker. And it wasn't plain poker, but he would just have all these decks of cards, and he would deal them so fast, and he would have a whole bunch of people. Like if we did an event with, say, 30 people, I would take 15. I would teach about paranormal equipment, how we use it, why we use it, and do demonstrations and all that kind of stuff, and answer any questions about paranormal part and spirits and ghosts and all that kind of stuff. And he was doing that, and then we'd switch. But he would also teach, or we would together, like teach a psychic 101, children, teaching children to be psychics. As a matter of fact, this woman right here has a very talented son. Like her son Logan is like, I do not see auras. I do not. All right, that's not part of me. I always don't either. Those aura cameras, because I'm fascinated by that. Her son glowed. I saw him. He was little, and he was glowing. I was just like, I kept staring at him. I'm just
Wow.
like, what is that? You know what I mean? Because I've never seen it. And I was just like, what? And I'm getting goosebumps like on my forehead right now, just even thinking about it. It's like, when I saw it, I was just like, what, he's going to be something. I don't know what it is. You know, I don't know if it's a psychic, if it's more than that, if it's
A wise woman.
a wise man, this major healer type kid. I don't know. He's good with tarot cards. I know that, you know, but it's like, it's just something about him. But, but she's got very amazing, talented children. And her other daughter is like such an amazing singer right now. Oh my God, she's so good.
That's awesome.
She should be on
I've never been good at mediumship. That there are people that come and they want to hear about their, you know, their beloved ones that's passed or something. I wish I could help them sometimes with that. But every once in a while it sneaks in. Yeah. I had a doctor. I was going to my doctor. I don't talk to my doctor about what I do. I don't want to have those conversations. I want my doctor to be my doctor and not my, you know, so I don't talk to him. The nurses somehow found out who I was and what I was doing. And all of a sudden, I'm in the doctor's office, and they call me down the hall before the doctor comes in. And they said, can you talk to this, you know, girl? She's one of the nurses there. Can you talk to her? She's having a real tough time. And I said, well, I really don't do that type of work. I wish I did, but, you know, I think you're going to be okay, and don't worry, you know, just surface stuff. I start to walk away, and her grandmother taps me on the shoulder and says, tell her I'm fine. And I said, your grandmother says she's fine. And she just exploded into tears. Yep. So the next time I come in, they locked the doctor out, and they sat down with me and had a 20-minute conversation while the doctor had to go do something else. Yeah, it was hilarious, but I don't actually do that very often. But it's a wonderful way that you can validate people. Yes. You know, it's another form of channeling. Like I said, I don't typically do that even in my private sessions, but I do many times tell people why they had the experience they had. If they're in a backup plan, if this wasn't their original set of parents, which happens a lot, there's all kinds of fun things that I can explain around those things that really kind of help people. But I love the people that can do the mediumship. It's a really important part and really helpful to.
What blows my mind is like I have like 60 plus decks now. You know what I mean? And it's like I have to pick which one's gonna talk to me that night. You know what I mean? And I put them out. So if we're doing a reading show, and it's like it's me and Tina's done it, and Mary Jane here, she's done it on the show,
Mary Jane.
and Mama D, you know, and then I have Lisa Joe come on, and I've had other various psychics come on, and it's like, okay, so the psychic will go first. If they're my guest, they'll be like, okay, you go first, and then we'll pull cards, and I'll hold my cards. I'll hold my cards right here, right? So before the psychic even speaks, my cards are pulled, and lo and behold, bam, each card is dead on with what that person says, or, you know, the next person and the next. They're always in unison. And if they're not, it's two separate messages. You know what I mean? But it's very rare. Yeah. But it blows my mind. Oh, she's saying hi to you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's beautiful stuff.
I think it's just great to be in service. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's to be in service.
Exactly.
And the work that you've done, I'm really blown away, and I can't wait. Actually, I can't wait. And I know I've come in late here. Normally, I would have researched more than I could have, but I can't wait to read because I'm sensing there's a lot in there. You know, it still is a little bit of a fear body, and I think it's good to go there, and I think everyone out there should realize that if you are a little bit afraid of this, as most people are, that Steve is and the group have done all this amazing work, you know, help us to deal with that, right? So I can't wait to read that.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
When I first started channeling the group, I wanted to know what to call them, because all my friends in the chat room were saying, I'm channeling Vaiwamas of the 23rd dimension and all these fancy titles. The the group said, we're not going to identify ourselves at all because we want you to take the message for the love content of the message and not because of a label. And that even created more difficulties and fear around it in the beginning. And I asked them, I said, well, what do you want me to call you? And they said, what's wrong with Steve Rother? And I go, well, that's my name, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's taken. But no, I had another book over here, too, that I had this woman on. And she channeled the whole thing, and she wanted to know desperately who the name was. And didn't get it. And it's so far from her. You know what I mean? You know that this is not her writing this book. She's like, I had to look up some of these things because I didn't know what they meant.
Yeah, I absolutely understand. I absolutely understand. Yeah. But there's the energy coming through the. I mean, I literally had to learn how to channel without the tears because the tears were. They're probably the first 5 years I was channeling. I was crying all the time, which was okay. People understood it. They even appreciated it. But at the same time, it's hard to say when your throat closes off. It's hard to make yourself heard as to what you're saying and so forth. So, but I had to shift a lot of that energy. And that's basically the old masculine energy I was raised in. I was a contractor. I lived in that world and everything else.
For years, you bottled all that up. I was too.
Exactly.
I'm a woman in a construction company, and I'm the boss, right? So how hard is that, right? And you're gonna have men, you know, twice your size, and I was pretty big. You know, I had muscles that were pretty big, right? And it's like, and they're gonna combat me, and it's like you're never gonna win.
Don't think so.
You're just not. All right, so don't even try it.
Yep.
But you know, but it's like it's a whole. That's a whole nother thing. I mean, it
was a whole
men and women.
It
really was a rebirth. Yeah.
You know, when they talk about, you know, the clairsentience, right? And when you're flooded with feeling and you know what I mean? You're taking in everyone else's feelings. So what we were actually taught, which I think was really useful, is because I used to do that too. I'd cry. Oh my gosh. I would just feel something and then I'd break out in tears and, you know, it was like uncontrollable. But then the way that it was explained to me is like that lowers our vibration. And so when our vibration lowers like that, then it affects our ability to connect too. So that's why tears, you're not doing anybody any good if you're out there, you know, crying and drinking you've got to sort of figure out this sort of dispassionate observation, you know, where you can actually get in there and do the good work. And that was hard. You know, it's hard, but yeah, you can feel that vibration just kind of plummet the minute that you. It was like that too. My chest. Oh my gosh, I would feel it. It's like, here, give me all your pain and let me drink it in, and then.
Well, that's empathic,
but
right?
That's
so. You know, I mean,
well, we're all
lots of people.
We're all super empathic. We're all incredibly empathic, or we wouldn't be talking about this. This wouldn't be a conversation.
We can ground and shield ourselves to block that out. So I have to do that. But the hardest thing is to feel it.
Yeah, but the hardest part is to feel it and to move it through you without taking responsibility for it, without taking the energy. The crying for me wasn't so much. I don't cry when I'm sad. I cry when I see something beautiful.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh.
That is the type of crying that I was having.
Wow.
It was almost as if I had hidden that from myself all this time.
Right.
The group completely opened me up, and oh yeah, it was just it was amazing. So, and I still do that. I see something really beautiful, or I hear some really incredible music or something else. The tears come. That's just.
Yeah,
I've got reverse eyes.
Oh my God. Well, I know this doesn't pertain to you, but you know, pregnant. Oh my God, I would cry.
I've never been pregnant. No.
Not this lifetime. Right? You could have been a woman in another one, right? But still,
I'm sure I could have. Yeah, probably was.
Right? But when you're pregnant and the hormones are hitting you. And it's like this commercial comes on TV, and it was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. This song was playing, and this guy wanted to take his the little girl wanted to go fishing with the dad and the son, and he didn't take her fishing. And I'm like, why didn't you take the girl fishing? And I'm bawling. It's like, what the heck? And then it kept going on, and then it went through her life, and then she died, and she never went fishing. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I was like, oh my God. I was devastated.
Was this a country song?
Yeah, it was a country song.
Sounds like a country song.
It was a thing on TV.
Good point, Tina.
This,
Good point.
It's like, oh my God, this is just the worst. I'm like, I can't do anything. You have to lock myself into a room and just be by
Didn't
myself.
exactly sound like Italian opera, but it could have been.
That too, yeah, they do the same thing. They do. This is, we can't understand it unless you know Italian. Damn those Italian lessons. Oh my God. How are we doing on time here? All right. Oh my God. Do you realize we only have a half an hour left? All right. Now listen, I haven't even put up. Okay. We got to put up this is how people can find out things that you do, and what else is on steverother.org.
Well, we do quite a lot of stuff. There's channels that are up there. We do classes. We do classes, 2 classes each month that are on a different subject. We call those focus events. It can be everything from metaphysical work to divination to almost anything really that we work with. The one I'm doing right now is called the 2026 Power Cycle. It's about things that are going through right now, what we're learning in this moment as a collective in humanity, and how it's going to change in 2027 and how we can get ready for it. Those types of things. On top of that, every 2 weeks, I have a Lightmaster course. Lightmaster is my highest level of group. This is where all the new information comes in for the first time. We kind of perfect it from that point on, and it turns into either other channels or books or classes or something of that nature. So we do a lot of work with that. Yeah, we do a lot of work. Every month, I do a live Q&A on YouTube. I'm going to be doing one this coming Saturday.
Nice. What time is that?
Basically, at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I have Lilith, who is the newest member of the group. She was also the first woman on Earth, and she has a lot to say. Is she
angry still?
She was very angry. She was very angry. That's a good point. She used a lot of cuss words to get our attention. That's exactly right. Like, what the hell are you guys doing here? Yeah.
She was also a contractor.
I hadn't actually seen it. I've always been working toward women's empowerment, toward balancing the energy, because we are severely out of balance. But seeing it through her eyes, it's unbelievable what has happened to women in general. History has been rewritten. The Bible has been rewritten. All these different aspects to put women in a subservient role over and over again. It happened to her. She was demonized. It's all the way down the road. She was demonized. Eve was demonized. She bit the apple. Oh my God, she bit the apple of truth. How horrible. We've got Mary Magdalene. You've got right down the line. She even says, why do you call it mankind? Basically we're completely leaning in one direction, and she is just really coming through with some beautiful information. She was on not only are we multidimensional, but the Earth is as well. And she was on one of Earth's other dimensions called Eris that was female dominated. And she told stories about that, which was just as out of balance as we are here. But they corrected it. They found a way to alter this and to start honoring both. So she's here to try and save some of that energy and share with us some of those secrets as well. So she's telling a lot of stories of Eris. It's brand new, so it hasn't come out in the book yet, but it sure will.
All right. Absolutely. Well, as soon as it does, you get in touch with me, and you're right back here, and so are you.
I will.
Right? And we'll make sure you get a book too. But with that is one book I want to read, hands down. But also
one book I want to write.
Yeah, espavo.org. Now, espavo is hello, goodbye. right? So what goes on there?
Well, it is the same. It is the same site.
Okay.
They both go. They both go to the same site. So Espavo is the name of our organization. It used to be the name of our website, but when I would tell people go to espavo.org, they would never spell it correctly. So we ended up calling this one steverother.org. It's easier to spell. Espavo is an ancient Lemurian term that the group told a story about Lemuria. And they told a story about basically that this one gentleman wanted this word to come back in circulation. It's used for hello and goodbye, like ciao or aloha. Mm-hmm. And it literally translated means thank you for taking your power.
Wow.
And that's what the whole thing was about.
Chills on my forehead. I keep getting all these little things. I'm getting chills on my forehead. I usually get chills on my arms, but it's like on my forehead. Oh, you're doing something to my you're doing something to my third eye. Stop it. You know what? I have like a side note that I wrote down here that I wanted to say. A lot of times people will say to me, I'm going back to paranormal, I have been trying forever to get in touch with my mom, my brother, my sister, my father, whatever, and I can never get through to them, you know? And I'm always like, well, they probably just went right from one life to another, or they're learning, or they're doing something, like I'm sure you might hear from them. But then again, it's like they could be, on their last life and are gone, Lord knows where, out of our capacity right now to reach them,
right.
That are people that I know to reach them. There might be some people that can't reach them. I don't know,
This is a very frustrating thing that I'm going to say, but it's what the group talks about with beings that pass to the other side. When you're really close to somebody and you lose them, they go home, they die. Many times that spirit on the other side of the veil will not directly contact them because it makes matters worse, not better. They typically have a harder time grieving if they feel that connection. And grieving is simply, it's not releasing somebody, it's finding another spot for them in your life. But they tend to do that. Now, that's the other reason that we have mediums, because a medium can tap into that energy much easier than that person can themselves for that reason. So right. Sometimes they won't talk to a specific individual, even if they're a channel, even if they're a medium themselves. They won't be able to actually connect to that person. But sometimes if they go to a medium, the medium will say, hey, this person's on your shoulder. You better, here, there's some energy coming through. Let me tell you about it, and they can connect very quickly with that. But a lot of this has to do with grieving, which we don't know how to do at all. It's very, again, we're afraid of death. So with that whole thing, we just tend to push it all off and go, look, I'm going to go do something fun, rather than look at this stuff.
When my husband died, I didn't have time to grieve. I was running businesses and I had everything. And we weren't ready, so I had to do the funeral and the plot and buy the tombstone and the this and the that and set up a party after and everything. And I was just like, $17,000 later, I'm just like, what just happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
oh my God,
that can happen. That's really difficult too, because when you're in that state of shock, you'll tend to throw money at things to solve it. Yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah, so that was crazy. But then it's like, and I had to stop. And he was in construction too, like roofing and siding. So it's like I had to stop and finish his jobs and close all his stuff out. And then I had two businesses myself and do those two and still work and still do this and do. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. But there was no time for grieving, at all.
Well, then you end up grieving over periods of time. And people that are in long-term illnesses, we grieve that before they leave. Sometimes it's actually a relief.
Time. Yeah, because it was sudden. You know what I mean? It was just boom. Like, wait, what? And yeah, so it was definitely life changing, you know. But he
That
was
happened
very,
that
very,
happened
very
with my wife.
adamant
That
spirit.
happened with my wife. She was ill for quite some time. Hid it pretty well, but she was ill for quite some time. And when she finally passed, it was, I miss her. My life changed. Everything else happened. I got very lonely right away. I was just waiting for her to come get me. And you know what happened? She sent me somebody to love. I ended up falling in love. And I have no doubt that she was behind it. I have no doubt. We talked about this. We used to talk about it, and I just assumed I would go first. But anyway, that kind of happened, and that'll happen. Things
Right.
happen like that.
Right? Because here I am too, get married. Again.
Congratulations, too. That's magical.
So,
that is magical.
It's craziness.
That's such a big topic. It's such a big, hello. It's such a big subject matter. And, sometimes too, there is a difference between grieving and suffering. So
yes.
There's never any guarantee that, even with a medium, there's never any guarantee that a certain person will come through, But if somebody is suffering and hanging on to something, usually, you know what I mean? Usually that's when somebody comes through, because grieving is normal, but suffering is not good. And really, anyone that's transitioned, crossed over, our loved ones really only care about the living. They really, really care about how people are left, and working through things, like grief, or not grief, but any sort of regrets as to, a lot of it too, if they couldn't be there when they passed, and then sometimes, right, they would not have been able to, they're hanging on and they need to go. And it's probably better that that person wasn't there by their bedside with them. So there are all kinds of stories and narratives. And so that sometimes when they do come through, it's only because they're trying to work through those little stories at the end of life, right? But there is no guarantee. Right. And that's the saddest thing sometimes. Or they'll come through in a dream state. Sometimes they come through in a dream state. And it's beautiful, but unfortunately, those are things that we can't control, right?
Right.
That's true.
I'm so glad
that's absolutely true.
About the dreams, because that's the thing I always say to people. Like, they say, "Oh, they're not getting in touch with me. They're not getting in touch with me." I'm like, go ask before you go to bed. Please send me a message, because that's when your guards are down, especially when you're REM sleep. Thinking about the day to day, and your messages will come through. In the morning, you don't remember dreams, but you do remember messages. So if you remember it, it's a message. If it doesn't make sense, write it down, and it will eventually make sense to you. Just like when a psychic tells you something, it's like, well, I don't know that, and I don't know this, and I don't know that. And 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, I know what that was. You know what I mean? It's like that. So if you write it down, but it's a direct message.
Yeah, I've never. My wife always woke up every morning and spent the first 30 minutes telling me about her dreams. I didn't think I dreamt at all, because I was so wrapped up in her dreams most of the time.
Like, I don't dream. It's like, yes, you do. If you don't dream,
But you're right. No, you're right. We do. I was talking to Teresa Chung about this just a couple of weeks ago. You know who she is? She's the dream lady.
Online. Yeah.
Oh, she's awesome. She's awesome. Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about the same thing. She just said the same thing you said. Just remind yourself that you want to remember your dreams, and you'll come up with the essence of it. Sometimes you can take the feeling and go back and remember why and put the pieces together, but that's not the important part. The message is the big piece. Yeah,
that's right. That's
you
right.
Can. Oh, yeah, and there are times when we have these extremely vivid dreams, and the group actually says sometimes those vivid dreams are an excursion into another one of your lifetimes.
Yeah.
Into another dimension.
That makes
sense. And you come back and you all of a sudden they're calling you by a different name, and you're married to a different person, or you have a different family or something. Yeah, there's all those are often confused for multidimensional experiences.
A different house, different people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. When I was a kid, I dreamt about a house all the time, the same house. I was going through the house. I drew the house, right? I'm an artist too, though.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, I drew the house. I drew the inside of the house. I drew the outside. It kind of looked like the White House type of a house. You know what I mean? Like big, grand, big columns in the front and all that, right? And going through, and it's like I know the foyer. You're coming down the carpeted red carpet stairs, going down the long hallway. This side, it was just like arch column. And it was just all these little vignettes and seating sets, you know, settees.
That is not normal
side,
for a dream.
Doors, you know, on this side, and statues.
Were they big columns, like
big,
white?
Huge.
But do you think that was
the
other side across the veil?
Hold on. Right now, I moved here to Pennsylvania. I always said if I ever left Massachusetts, I would move to Pennsylvania. I moved here, and with Bob's sister, we were driving around. You know, like she was showing me the areas. We went up where these big, beautiful houses are, and I went, "Stop!" And I looked down the hill.
You saw
and
it.
This is exactly the house. I wanted to go up there in the worst way, just to say, "Can I please come in?" And they have like an industrial kitchen in there with the tiles and the stainless steel and everything. It's all here still, very vivid. I could draw it again today, right? So I'm sitting in front of this house, and it's like this really long, you know, it's down there, you know, there's a big grassy area. What comes around the corner but a fox, right? It comes around and runs across the front of it. And I was just like, come on. Like, this is it. I got to know who lives here. Why, you know, what is it with this house? You know, the craziness.
Did you go up to him?
No, she wouldn't let me.
Why?
If I was by myself, I would have. And I don't know where it is. I'm like, where is that street? And she won't tell me because she knows I'm going to just go up to the house. She's like, you'll get arrested. I'm like, I just want to come into your house.
Yeah. Do you have an industrial kitchen? You know,
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
You know, or was it at one time? You know, it was just so crazy. But then the funny thing of the dream was at one point I was just about waking up, and one of the statues opened up, and out comes Robert Redford, dressed in. Hold on, he was dressed in a Boy Scout like outfit, and a whole bunch of little Boy Scouts came after him like they were touring, and they came out of the statue, and I was just like.
Yeah, that'd be time to wake up.
Yeah, and then I woke up, and that's what I remember most about that one. But it was the same. It was the house again, you know. But I didn't, you know, that was the first time the statue actually opened up. You know,
fascinating.
Funky things.
I want to read your book.
Yeah.
I want to read your book on that.
Yeah, the day that I can sit down and write my book is going to be friggin' like 7 books to just this lifetime, let alone the other lifetimes. But you know,
yeah, I understand.
Steve, would you've gone and knocked on that door? Like, would you have like?
I probably would have. Yeah.
Everybody I know would have.
I'm a little crazy that way. I'm not afraid of looking foolish. I just I've learned to go ahead and look foolish. It's okay. Yeah.
Yep. I know. I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You know?
Yeah.
She's like, no.
Exactly. That's cool.
What a love. What a little love.
I went to my house that I grew up with. I was back in St. Louis. We decided to drive by the house. It was a beautiful house that my father built, big place on 3.5 acres and atop of the hill. We look at it. I get out. We go actually knock on the door. A guy comes to the door and he says, I know exactly who you are. Do you remember me? It was a high school buddy of mine. It was a grade school buddy of mine. He ended up buying the house. He ended up living in that house longer than I did. But he brought us in and asked all kinds of questions about the house. It was really interesting. But so yeah, I don't have a lot of qualms with that.
Yeah. My cousin's son just bought my parents' house because they died in 10 months of each other. You know, so we had to sell the house, and So at least our childhood home is still in La Familia, So it's very nice. It's very, very nice. But getting back to this. All right, first of all, let's talk about this one. If they wanted to read this one first, or I wish I had a picture of all your books. I usually do that, and I just kind of didn't have time to be doing wedding stuff. but this, explain in here about. All right, I marked it. All right, so yes, you got your 12 primary life lessons.
Right.
Now, how important is this to know these things?
It's not extremely important to know any of it. What it does is gives you a story behind some of the energies that you've already felt, but didn't have a word to put into it. That's really what the group does. They like to show us things from a different perspective, which is why we called it spiritual psychology instead of psychology. It's not about the study of the brain. It's not about the work that Carl Jung did.
Science.
It's about let's look at this from a spiritual perspective. What did your spirit have in mind when you came to Earth? And one of the things we can look at here is that we all have negative repetitive behaviors. When they go through all of your different parts of your life, through different relationships, different jobs, things of that nature, those are indications of what life lesson you're working with. And it can show you just some very basic things about the life lessons. And most of them are simple. They're truth, trust, being able to hold your own truth in different ways. Definition is one of the more critical life lessons that we work with a lot. Definitions when you're born with very strong energy and very weak boundaries. And you end up drawing in master manipulators that want to manipulate you and pull you. And you may have one for a father, and if you don't learn the lesson, then you end up marrying one, or you have a boss that does that. It's a repetitive thing in your life. So that's the type of thing that we work with there. And all of this came from me doing private sessions with people. That's where the group would show me things.
Case things in here.
Well, then I'd tell something like this. Yeah, exactly. I would tell somebody something, and then next week I would tell somebody the same thing. And I said, well, isn't it, am I making this up? They said, no, there's patterns to it. So anyway, those patterns are what's in this book.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I remember this from before, but now you have that's your other book, Remember. So what is that one about?
Remember was the first book that I wrote, and it was all about putting back together the pieces that we had separated in order to play this game. It is a completely channeled book. Spiritual psychology, the material was channeled, but I didn't write it in a channel. So I told basically the stories about different things and things that I experienced with it and how the group showed it to me. But Remember was the first book that I wrote that was channeled. And it was very powerful, very beautiful. Again, about looking at life from a totally empowering perspective. Instead of getting stuck in our story, we can start to expand. We can start to learn how to love. And that's not an easy thing for us to do. But to learn how to actually love and receive love is one of the most challenging things that we can do. And that's really what Remember was all about. And it covered a lot of different things.
So Steve, when you write these books and you channel these books, do you find that it's like a double-ended wand? So in other words, I know there's a lot of energy that's your personal chi is being used to write these books, but do you feel it comes back at you, or how do you
when I get this information, it is so wide and varied that for the longest time, I had like 12 books going at the same time. I would do a channel and I'd say, okay, that belongs in this book. Oh, that belongs in this book. And that didn't work because I still have a whole bunch of unfinished books. So I had to actually sit down and channel and let the group tell me what they wanted in this book. And And I got to tell you, I hate writing books. It's
That's
like pulling
the
teeth
problem
for
with
me.
my book. It's like I have endless, like I would have bullet point after bullet point after bullet point after bullet point, but then it's like it's so many things, and then
Well, that's it.
I really wanted to write with the helpful book, and it's like, and I still can't even get to that just because I'm reading everybody else's books, and I'm doing this, and I'm trying to put out all this information that can help as many people as I, hope that it will,
Right.
with bringing people like you, bringing people like Tina to the forefront, and, it's like that to me is more important than me writing a book,
Well, we all have a story to tell. If it comes out in a book, that's great. If not, we're just going to tell it as we walk through life. It's going to be part of us no matter what we're doing. And some of us will write books, some of us won't. You couldn't have convinced me in high school that I would write 8 books. That was just not I couldn't wait to get out of high school. I didn't go to college. I was done with academics altogether. You could not have told me that I'd be writing books, much less that they'd be translated into 19 different languages.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't take credit for that. That's the group. That's basically what that is. They line these things up. They let me think I'm doing them.
They picked a good person too, because you're very you're likable.
Thank you.
You put all this information out there so nicely, and that we can accept it easily. Like some people, it's harsh. You know what I mean? It's a line. It's a line to walk. Like you said, when people get like, that's a tough thing to do, and to make people feel comfortable. And like Tina makes people feel comfortable. You definitely make people feel comfortable. I have to make people feel comfortable when I go into their house. Otherwise they'll be like, why are you here? I'm not going to go kicking down doors and screaming at spirits. You know what I mean? You don't do that. You talk to them like I'm talking to you, and that's
make it practical.
Yeah.
It's what we call practical magic. Absolutely. Yeah. It's important.
And it's a good movie too.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites. Yeah.
I love it. Writing is exhausting, but when you're doing something like this, and I just can imagine with all that light coming through too, that at the end of it, you just must feel so elated.
Oh, you do. No, I absolutely do. No, actually writing the book isn't the hard part, because it's coming through. It's a question of what I leave out, how I focus, and how I leave this out. Let's just focus on this and try to do that. That's the hard part for me. Yep. But you're absolutely right. When it's done, it's awesome, and I can send it to an editor. And I've got some good editors. Sandy Sedgbeer is a very dear friend of mine. She's been a board of directors of our organization since its inception. So she's been a part of trying to help us and teach me how to write a little bit, and some of the other aspects. So yeah, and that's fine. I can turn it over to them.
I speak.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you speak differently than you write, always.
Always.
So even when I'm taking the transcripts of some of my seminars, they don't. You can't do that. You have to alter it and change it into written word. But it's magical.
Going to be upset when she makes those like heavy duty edits. It's the group that's going to be.
I know, right?
I can't watch. I can't watch. No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Sandy would be sitting there with me, and she'd read a paragraph, and she'd say, "Okay, what's the group trying to say here?" And I said, "Well, Sandy, they're trying to say this." And she said, "Well, why don't they just say that?"
Because they don't want them.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Ask them. Oh my God. So
now I'm okay with it.
Is the Lilith your next book coming out? Is that the one?
There's 2 books that are and 3 books that are underway. One of them is called Triality. It's all about the threes, the magic of threes. They're the hidden aspect of life. As we move into the 5th dimension, we're going to start seeing more of the threes. They talk about threes in relationship. They talk about threes in our daily life, how we hide everything. all spirituality has all been about the Trinity, the different aspects and so forth of working with things. So it's one of those is all about we call it triality, moving out of duality into triality and learning to live in a different way. So that's one book. Another book is Spiritual Psychology 2. They want to give us a different view, a different way to look at ourselves, even besides the 12 primary life lessons and the things that we've worked with there. I've got years of these classes that I'm going to turn into a book. That's another one. But I have a feeling Lilith is going to take the forefront and probably push everything aside and start coming in with her information. She's very forceful.
I bet. I'm like chomping at the bit here for this one. I mean, as soon as you're done, if you need a proofreader, yes.
Okay, we'll do.
You get the feeling that this one's going to kick the crap out of you a bit?
Probably.
Well, very humbling for you, I'm sure. You know,
I'm sure it is. Well, just her views on things, just the short time that she's been in here, and talking about how we have degraded the feminine energy from the beginning. She was Adam's first wife. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's in the Bible. Well, they took out the different parts of the Bible that, the whole book of Zohar talked all about her, but it wasn't in the Bible. They got rid of it. The book of Enoch talks about her. Again, not in the Bible. There we go.
Yep.
Beautiful. That's a big cat.
Yep.
That is a big cat.
That's why she's
awesome.
It's not the male. She never does this. Sorry.
No problem. So anyway, they basically
cat for her.
Yeah, she'll be pushing a lot of this energy aside, but she really surprised me when she told the stories. She said her name wasn't even Lilith. Her name was Miriam. And what they did was later on, they took, there was a Mesopotamian she-devil that they had called Lily to, and they took her name and called her Lilith. And now she proudly holds that name Lilith. She says, I'm going to clean this name up. This needs to be told. And they've talked about all these different things about it in the Bible. The only thing that's left is that in Genesis, it says that God created Adam and got out of dust and created a woman out of dust.
Right.
That was Lilith.
Right. And Eve was from the rib, but
Lilith came later. Eve came later. That's correct.
Right. So Lilith and Adam
were
the same. Yeah.
Exactly. So
and that's why the equal rights thing is always. I've been.
And then they demonized Eve. They just because she bit the apple of the wisdom, the tree of wisdom. I mean, that's perfect. But they demonized her. Now all women are going to have pain during childbirth. Oh my God! What is going on with us? And apparently it happened the same way, only feminine energy took over in Eris. And she was incarnate there for quite some time, which is why she was the last one to reveal her. It's going to
be a huge part of the book, a chapter of the book, or whatever. But that's a fascinating place. I'd like to hear about.
She's already told stories from Eris.
I just watched a movie, something like that. There was a
Did you really?
Man. Yeah, he was just one of those womanizing men, and he was in a place of power, and he fell and he hit his head. And he was degrading all these women, And then when he came to, he was in the same place, role reversed, right? The women were the leaders. And they were they're like, oh, don't you worry your pretty little head. Now you just go over there and you look at it. And then if they start to talk in a meeting, they're like, yeah, no, we're going to go with this. And what do you think about that? And they're like being all these macho and doing all the mannerisms that the men were doing, all that kind of stuff. It was hilarious. It was great, and he had to amazing. He had to prove himself, and even the women bosses were trying to sexually, advance on him and stuff like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's really amazing. And if we can balance the energy, that's when we become powerful as a collective. That's really the piece of it. And all you have to do is look at our governments, look at our wars, and I don't just mean the United States. The United States is certainly being run by male energy, but it's not just there. Look at Russia. Look at all these different places where we're having difficulty. Look at North Korea. We're seeing over and over again this dominant of masculine force. And it's time that we wake up and change. It really is. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. I'm telling you. Yeah. I thought we were going in that direction. I really, really did. And now it's just like, oh no, we can't have that. So, that whole group of them are really trying to put us back in the freaking
It's
20s.
A pendulum. It swings back and forth, but we can give that pendulum a little push, I'll tell you. It needs it.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I think that book would come out in a good time.
It's going to be a time before it breaks. It can't keep going on. It's kind of like, do you know what I mean? The rise and fall of the Roman Empire. It will sort at some point.
That's exactly what we're looking at. And the group, and I will tell you, the group almost 11 years ago talked about the United States stepping out of a position of leadership in the world. They said it would be done mostly by money taking over. Well, that's kind of what's happened in a lot of ways. So we'll get it back. We're humans. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll connect.
I certainly hope so. But
it'll be figured out for us.
My lovely, lovely people, we are at the end of the show. We don't been yapping for 2 hours. It feels like nothing to me. Anyway, I mean, great company with the both of you. And Steve, I would have you back any time. You want to talk about anything anything that pops up, I would have you back on in a heartbeat. Okay.
Thank you, sweetheart.
I think your messages are wonderful. This book blew my mind, totally blew my mind. And thanks for sharing. Thanks for sending me 2 copies. I had gotten a destroyed copy, but thank you for that though, and thank you for being with us again. And Tina, thank you for coming.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet you. It was nice to meet you.
Such an honor, seriously. Thank you so much, Gina and Steve. Like, just such a pleasure to meet you. Oh no, you!
I love it. It's like having Mama D. The dogs come in and everything. It's hilarious. Hey, we are very, very pet friendly show here. But thank you again. All right, I'm gonna play my video. You guys hang with me for a minute. I'm just gonna say ciao to everybody else. I'm going to be doing I think 3 or 4 more shows, and I'm going to be off again for a little while because we have the bash, and then it's like weddings coming up and stuff. So
congratulations on the wedding. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good deal.
Yeah, we're getting married in an asylum. So this is the thing.
That's perfect.
That's the asylum. That's it.
That's perfect.
Yep, because we're nuts. But it'll be fun. But thank you again. And everybody, buona notte. Ciao for now. We love you all.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. We are here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests or our own intuitive oracle card reading shows. We are streaming live on Facebook on my personal page and our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, on Mama D's YouTube channel, Angel Meadows, as well as our audio-only venues. We hope you enjoyed our show and our guest or your reading, and we would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe, share, and definitely hit that notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.